All right. We're live. Okay, we'll wait just a few minutes to let folks jump on.
Looks like we might have lost Deborah. Good morning. I'm seeing some chats already. Good morning from a couple people out there. So exciting to see you all.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Deb will come back on in just a few minutes. So good morning, and thank you for jumping online today and joining us for the AMA Education Webinar Series. Today we will be featuring how to do an amazing virtual tour. Our education team has put together several free webinars for you and your teams during the month of April, and we hope to see you again on Tuesday for our next webinar, Resident Retention and Engagement at 1:00 p.m. You may register on our AMA website. I would like to take some time to remind you that during this challenging time, our vendor members are there for you. They are ready to work with you on whatever budgeting restrictions you may have or emergency services that you may need. They have been your trusted suppliers and would like to continue to provide you excellent service at any time. A few of them are identified on this slide and live by the motto AMA, members supporting members. I would like to introduce our special guest panelists for today's webinar. Please welcome Chris Wagner with Business Observations and Deb Hill-Fox with Ask Deb Box. Thank you both for being with us this morning, and I will now turn it over to them.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I want to let you guys know that Deb might be popping in and out. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties this morning, so bear with us. But we are both very happy to see you all this morning or connect with you. I'm Chris Wagner. I'm the principal and owner of Business Observations. We're a full-service mystery shopping company, and I've been involved in the apartment association and some of the industry events for many, many years, and know quite a few of you out there. It's a little weird to connect with you this way on a webinar, so I'm going to take you off mute for a moment and ask you guys to give me a little love. Say good morning and show me a little love this morning. Show me some energy. Okay, I'm not turning you on so I can hear you, but on the bottom of your screen, you'll notice that there's some buttons for questions and answers as well as chat. You can enter in comments at any time and chat with me or give me some feedback, give me some love, say good morning. We've got a quick hour together. We're going to be fast paced and share some information. A lot of it you already know because we are talking about sales skills, and we've talked about this many times, and many times with some of you out there listening to me today. I'm going to share my screen, so give me a moment here to get this going. As Michelle introduced, we're going to be talking about amazing virtual tours. And I want to start this morning with a little poll and get a pulse on how we're feeling out there. Can you guys all see my screen? Okay, I think we're good. Now you can see my screen. I thought we'd start with a poll. Michelle or Jonathan, can you help me with putting the poll up? How many of you guys feel like your work environment has changed a little bit, and how we do things are changing, and how we feel about things are changing? I think we've all seen that crazy show Tiger King, and I'm kind of wondering which of these characters you relate most with today. We're probably not feeling like ourselves at all times, and not only do we not feel like ourselves, but our residents and our future residents maybe not feel like themselves so much too. So let us know, which character do you feel most like today? Which one do you most relate with? We'll go ahead and leave the poll up for a couple more minutes, a couple seconds, and see how you feel. Michelle, are we able to see the results from the polls as we go, or is that something that we'll be sending out afterwards? Oh, we're seeing the results. A lot of you haven't seen the show. Oh my goodness. It is a good break for a laugh and some variety in what we're seeing in TV shows out there. So if you haven't taken the time to watch it, like I said, I'll give you a quick laugh. The biggest point that I want to make is that we're just not feeling like ourselves at all times. Things are changing out there. And although we are doing a lot of things the same, we're doing a lot of things a little different too. Let me ask you another question. Let's take another quick poll. How many of your work environment has changed, and how has it changed? If you could let us know, is your office closed altogether? Are you doing any tours at all? Or are you touring by appointment only? Take a minute to answer this poll and let us know what's going on in your office. Any way you look at it, we are seeing a difference in how we work today. Some of us have different hours. Some of us are just doing processes and talking to our prospects and residents differently. I think you guys sometimes feel the way I feel right now, in a little box. You know, your residents and prospects know you're in there, but we're not coming out. We can't interact with them. And we all know how important that personal touch is on our tours and interactions with our prospects, but especially when we're talking about virtual tours. So is your office closed? Are you taking any tours at all? Are you taking tours by appointment only? Or are you doing everything virtually? Take a minute to let us know. Only doing virtual tours. We're finding that across the United States, not just in our market here, but most of our offices are closed, and we're having to find different ways to connect with our prospects, all through virtual processes, software and technology. And we see that just based on our poll. Because of that, I think it's fair to say that we all feel a little differently, and it's fair to acknowledge that as well. I think one of the most important things that we can do at this point is to take some time for yourselves before you get started in your day and interacting with our prospects and our future residents, especially because we're doing it a little differently. Start by taking some time for you. Take care of yourself first and really set yourself up for success. Some of the things that you can do to do that, to take that minute for yourself, is start your day off with a meditation. Start your day off with just some quiet time of, you know, setting yourself up for success, outlining your day, and giving yourself that extra moment to just take care of yourself. Some ways that you can do that is staying active, especially throughout the day. Because our days look a little different and we're not having people coming and going from our office all the time, we're sitting a little bit more and we're not walking around. So get up, move around. Make sure you have some exercise in your daily program as well. That's going to help you stay positive and keep your morale up through this time. Keep news to a minimum. Social networking as well. There's a lot of information coming at us, and if we just take the time to, you know, focus on some positive things instead of so much of the news, that's going to help you keep positive and keep your morale up and help you keep that personal touch throughout your virtual tours. Every time you get a call, you know, stand up, walk around a little bit. Give that time for an excuse for you to walk away from your computer a minute. Like I said, we're not having that interaction with people coming and going, so we can become sedentary. So figure out reasons to get up and move around throughout your day. That's going to help. Do something that makes you feel good every day. You know, read a book, have a moment with a positive inspiration, or listen to some music. Do something that makes you feel good every day. It's a great thing to start your day by doing something that makes you feel good. But as the day progresses, sometimes our days feel a little bit longer than they have in the past because we're not having the interaction. So do something every day that makes you feel good. That's going to help keep things going and moving through these crazy times. Stay hydrated. Make sure you're drinking a lot of water, and you're taking care of yourself in a physical way as well. Maybe read a book. Gosh, I know I haven't read a book for quite some time, and in the last few weeks I've read 4, you know, not only self-development books, but just some fun, get your mind off things. Again, just a couple of tips that might work for you to keep positive and stay motivated throughout your day. Talk to a mentor. I see Deb is back on. You know, as an industry partner, we rely on each other quite a bit, and you know, we've supported each other through this time. So pick up the phone and talk to somebody. Give one of us a call. Give each other a call. Talk to somebody that maybe can help you train or cross-train and progress your skills during this time. Things that, you know, maybe just take a couple of minutes, but will help you stay positive. Continue to set your goals throughout this time. We've talked many times, those of you that have been in my classes before, about setting goals and how much interaction you need in order to help people find a home and what you need to do to accomplish your goals. Don't let that stop now. In fact, it's more important than ever. Deb, what are some things that you do to help you stay positive during this time?
Well, one of the things I do is I do yoga, I do stretches, I go for short walks. I do not sit at the computer all day long. I take lots of little breaks. I think mentally you got to step away from what you're doing and take 5 minutes for yourself, 5 to 10 minutes for yourself. So, you know, I'm going on walks, walking the dog, all kinds of things, you know, trying to stay motivated. I think your mind, in order to stay clear and in a good direction, you have to take lots of small breaks.
Absolutely, absolutely. Our work day looks much different than it did before. So taking that time to get up and move away from your computer and take a minute for yourself, which we didn't typically do before, is now more important than ever. Go ahead and enter some comments in that chat area and let us know some things that you've done to help you work through your day and keep positive and just feel good. What are some things that you've done every day that has helped you? And again, you'll get all the information after the webinar, so we'll be able to share that, and maybe we'll be able to share some tips and things that you can do that you haven't done already to keep your morale up. Keeping that personal touch with not only our virtual tours, but in every interaction is more than necessary and needed today. So take the time, take care of yourself first. Take an online class also. That's another great suggestion, just kind of what you're doing now. You know, before we really get into the meat of this, let's talk about what is a virtual tour anyway. You know, what is a virtual tour? I think if you simplify it and really remember that we've been doing this for a long time, it basically is just giving someone the opportunity to walk into a home or walk into a location and look at it as if it's their first time viewing it. Instead of physically walking through that apartment or common area amenities, we're doing it in a virtual way. And that's really the only difference. But let me ask you a question. How many of you have rented an apartment sight unseen?
Yeah, no.
How many of you have, you know, had just a phone conversation? We didn't even have the opportunity to send additional photos and videos. You just had a great conversation, showed your personality, and was able to lease an apartment sight unseen. It has happened, and it has happened a lot. We've been doing this for a really long time, and talking about an amazing virtual tour is really just incorporating some of the same things that we've done on a sight unseen lease or a tour on the phone. We've sent photos and different types of information to our prospects for many years. The only difference is we're now calling it a virtual tour, and we're taking those sales skills that we've learned from our past and implementing it into our phone calls and our email correspondence. Really, you've got to step up your sales skills and kind of put those on steroids, show a little bit more on a virtual tour. Some of those things that I think are important is act now, not later. When you get that phone call today and somebody wanting to find a home, they're calling you because they need a home now. If they need a home, they need to make a decision. So act now, not later. Go ahead and do that virtual tour while you've got them on the phone. You don't need to stop and send them all the information. You can ask them to hop on the computer, hop on your website, and you can send that information throughout the conversation. Act now, not later. Also, make sure that you're obtaining all contact information. I know this is something simple and something we've talked about for many, many years and on every single sales training that we ever do, but now it's more important than ever. Not just their email, because we'll be sending them those photos and videos, but their phone number. You need to find ways to incorporate touch points and do it in different ways throughout your interaction. So not only on the phone, but email as well. Obtain all of the contact information you can. Create conversation, really talk back and forth. You want to be careful that you're not just delivering a lot of information on your virtual tours. It's really difficult not to just kind of dump a lot of information because there isn't as much opportunity for that back and forth. We don't see their faces unless we're actually on a real-time FaceTime call. A lot of our initial interaction on a virtual tour starts by email or phone. So you have to go above and beyond and find extra ways to create conversation. A good way to do that is just to find a commonality with someone. Again, the same things we've talked about in your sales skills in an in-person or face-to-face tour are going to apply for your virtual tours. Follow up, follow up, follow up. Not only do you need to follow up with clips and additional information, videos and things like that, but follow up with conversations. Today, generally speaking, it takes more touch points to obtain a lease or to follow through with a call to action than it ever did. And on a virtual tour, we've got to step that up even more. So make sure that you're finding ways to create conversations and touch points, and do that by following up with different ways. Schedule a tour. Schedule that live tour. And if you can do that, like I said earlier, act now, not later. If you can do that while you've got them on the phone, you're a step ahead. But make sure that that's your first call to action is scheduling a live tour with somebody and actually walking through the apartment and common areas in real time. It's great to send the videos and photos, but if you can do it real time, then you're actually touring with them as if they were there physically with you. You can have a conversation, you can ask questions, you can gather information and make sure that you're delivering the features and benefits at your community that pertain to them and what they're actually looking for, just like you do on a physical tour. Ask a lot of questions. One of those questions is to invite them or ask them to start the application process. Don't rely on your email that has that link in it to be your close or the invitation to ask them to live there. Make sure you're asking a lot of questions, and probably more questions than you would on a normal tour, because you don't get to see their face and expressions throughout all of your interaction with your clients doing a virtual tour. So asking questions, creating conversation, having that back and forth feedback is going to go a lot further in a virtual tour. I already asked you if you had leased an apartment sight unseen through a phone call or email correspondence. But like I said, I think we've been doing this for a very long time. And I think that there are a lot of you out there that are really, really good at leasing an apartment sight unseen. We're not asking you to do that with a virtual tour. You can actually lease an apartment with them seeing the apartment through real time or our virtual videos. So you have a little extra tools than what we've had in the past. But I guarantee if you look back across your experience, you've probably leased an apartment sight unseen, which means you're already a step ahead. You know what you're doing, and you can have an amazing virtual tour. It looks like we've got a couple of questions already too. We're going to save the questions to the very end of the presentation and have a question and answer session so that we can make sure to get the information to you that you need. Look at that. Of course you have leased an apartment sight unseen. We are experienced in doing this. So when we talk about having an amazing virtual tour, again, it's things that you already are accustomed to doing. It's just calling out our procedures and processes in a new way and naming them a little bit different, packaging it a little bit different. A virtual tour is no different than renting an apartment sight unseen. Good job. If you didn't rent an apartment sight unseen on the very first interaction, how many interactions does it take for you to lease an apartment today? How many interactions does it take to create that commonality? You know, when somebody walks into your apartment community, most generally they've seen your community online or through Instagram or FaceTime and some of the social networking that we do. So they may be a step ahead. We don't always take that into consideration when we're talking about an amazing virtual tour, but it's the same thing. We've got several touch points throughout that sales transaction, and the more times that you can create those touch points, the better chance you have at a successful transaction or call to action. Generally speaking, how many times does it think, how many touch points, how many interactions do you need before you actually complete a call to action, whether that's leasing an apartment or getting them to take the next step? Is it 1, 2, more than 3? We're finding that it takes approximately 5 times, on average, 5 times to create touch points throughout a leasing presentation online or through a virtual tour. So you need to find ways to connect with your prospects in addition to the initial email or phone call. Keep it going, keep that conversation going. And even after they've leased, you want to continue with your touch points. On average, it looks like 3 times is the most that 3 times it takes to touch point or have a touch point with your prospects or your residents before you can have a successful interaction, whether that means leasing an apartment. So keep that in mind. Get creative. Do some phone calls, do some emails. Be a little fun with your videos as well, but find those ways to create conversations and touch points. It will help you keep that personal touch regardless of how automated we get. Some tips that I can give you to make sure that you're having an amazing virtual tour is, again, create conversation. I can't say that enough. It's so easy to just dump information and not stop and ask questions when you're virtually corresponding with someone. So create that conversation. Obtain all contact information. I said that already. It's so important that you get not only their email, but their phone number also, so that you can create those different touch points and find different ways to communicate with them. Show your personality. My goodness, it's more important than ever. We want to see your beautiful faces and your smiles, and get a little goofy with your prospects, just as you would in a physical tour. Show who you are. I mean, that's the way we're going to really connect and make somebody feel good about their decision-making process, is you. If they like you, then they're going to want to do business with you. It's no different in a virtual tour. Make sure that you're showing your personality. Ask a lot of questions. I can't say that more times than needed. Ask a lot of questions. You really want to get to know your prospect just the same as you would in a physical tour. It will also help you create that conversation and give you that opportunity to have some back and forth conversations with your prospects. Listen to what they're saying. Sometimes there's a delay on our phone calls. Sometimes we don't get that immediate answer that we're looking for, and we're already moving on to what we think they want to hear or what we're going to do next. Are we going to send a video? Are we going to make a phone call? How are we going to connect with them next? Instead of listening to what they're telling us, it's more important. It takes a little more patience and a little more effort to slow down during a virtual tour so that you can identify what they're truly looking for. We've got so many great things at our communities, but you really want to deliver the information that's important to them, their needs and wants, what they're looking for. And you have to listen to them to be able to do that. Once you're listening to them and you really have a good idea of what they're looking for, then you can start overcoming their concerns. And you've got to ask some questions in order to find out what their concerns are. It's not as easy for them to tell you or for you to be informed what is creating the concern for them to make the next step, because we're not seeing their expressions all the time. If you're on a phone call, we don't get the ability to see their body language or their facial expressions and see some of their emotional and nonverbal buying signals, or just signals that, hey, this feels good to me. So ask more questions so that you can do that on a virtual tour the same way you do on a physical tour. Invite them to start the application process. It's so easy for us to just explain how to do it. This is how you apply. You go to our website, you know, these steps on how to apply is not actually inviting them to lease an apartment or to live with you. Don't let that structured or that template link that's sent out to your applicants be your invitation. Make sure you're asking them and inviting them to live there. Make sure they feel a part of your community. I think that's more important than ever in a virtual tour, really giving your prospects that sense of belonging. It's a little harder to do over the phone or through email, so take that extra time. And then follow up, follow up, follow up. Like we said earlier, it's going to take some extra time to do that. So make sure you're following up in some creative ways as well. Deb, do you have anything to add to all of that information?
Boy, I'm just listening to everything you've got to say there, Chris, and I'm agreeing with it all. Here's what I want to say about this virtual tour. Please be consistent. So talk it over with your team, figure out what your tour path is going to be and stick to it. Consistency is our key, to make this really successful. But in all things that we do on site, we have to remember that fair housing comes into play, with all aspects. So, but be consistent. That's probably the best advice I can give to you. So whatever your tour path is, give that same tour path to everyone else that you might do a virtual tour for.
Absolutely. Fair housing is important. It does come into play with our virtual tours. Thank you for bringing that up. We do have a section for that a little later, so we might visit this again. But treat everybody the same. Do the same things that you do on your physical tours in your virtual tours. If you're offering to show the common areas in your virtual tours, make sure that you're offering to show everybody the common areas in your virtual tours. You don't have to do it in the same order with everybody, because we do want you to personalize your virtual tours just like you do your physical tours. But you do need to be aware of fair housing just like you do in a physical tour on a virtual tour.
Yeah, and then Chris, the only other comment I have is show your personality. Yes, smile, be friendly, be warm and fuzzy, but always remember, that your personality needs to be professional at all times. So be a professional, but be warm and fuzzy. Every study that I've ever seen or been involved in or listened to says that people make their mind up within 10 seconds of talking to someone. So if your warmth is not coming through, if your friendly personality is not coming through, then, you probably will not make the sale, as they say.
That's so true. I mean, it doesn't matter if we are on a virtual tour or a physical tour, people will do business with people that they like. 75% more. In fact, I think that percentage is a little higher if you listen to Tony Blake and some of our other national speakers with the statistics they're giving. But, you've got very little time, and I feel like you've got less time on a virtual tour to gain that connectivity, that warmth, and you've got to take that extra time. At the same time, you want to be professional while showing your personality. So all great tips and things that we need to do on a virtual tour as well. Okay. I got a little technical glitch there. There we go. The process for a virtual tour is pretty much the same as a physical tour. The one thing that I think that will help with, especially with some of the things that Deb's talking about, is getting that warmth right from the beginning of your phone call or email interaction, is stop what you're doing and focus on the person you're talking to. It's easy for us to get wrapped into the reports or whatever it is that you're working on without any interruption. So really stop what you're doing and focus on the person that's calling you or the person that you're talking to get that warmth across right from the beginning. Make sure that you're asking for their name and using it throughout the conversation. That's one of those things that will really help you gain that ultimate first impression right off the bat. And I can tell you, not only from our physical shops, but our virtual shops, that is one thing that you can do that will really help you stand above and beyond or above some of your competitors, is just doing that simple thing that makes people so important by calling them by name throughout the conversation. Ask if they want a tour right now. If somebody is calling you and they want information, it means that they're ready to make that decision now. They're ready to go through the process now. So do it. Just like on a phone call that we talked about earlier with renting an apartment sight unseen, you can ask them to hop on the website right now. If they don't have an iPhone, you can use Google Duo. You can use Instagram. You can use FaceTime. But you can do a tour right now, right on that initial call. Act now. Don't wait till later. Use your community accounts when you're interacting with your prospects virtually versus your personal accounts. If you're using Instagram to communicate with your prospects or show information about your community, make sure that it's your community pages instead of your personal information. You've got to be careful, and we don't want to give out any unnecessary personal information during this virtual time. Ask a lot of questions. It's more important to have that conversation on a virtual tour. There's less opportunity to gain that warmth. There's less opportunity to gain that ultimate first impression. So you've got to step up your processes and your sales skills and all of those things that you've learned earlier on and apply it more so on a virtual tour. So ask a little more questions, have a little bit extra conversation, and really get that personal touch with your prospects. Incorporate what you found out by asking questions on your presentation, just like we talk about in your physical tour. If you know that they need a lot of storage, then talk about that on your tour and point that out, whether it's on a real-time tour or the information that you use to follow up. Doing it both times, talking about their wants and needs on the actual real-time tour and using that information to follow up will help you not only assist them in finding a home, but create that conversation and that warmth right from the beginning. Send short clips of what they want to see. No need to send all of the information that you have or all of the professional videos that we have for our communities. Send them what they want to see. It's too much information. So make sure that you're really identifying to their true wants and needs. You have less time to do that virtually. So make sure that you're identifying what they truly want and you're sending them short clips of that information, not everything you have. Ask about their decision-making process. You know, again, these are the same kinds of things that I've talked about during my sales trainings for a physical tour. You just need to step it up, do it a little more, and do it with a little more personality on a virtual tour. Make that call to action from the beginning. So, you know, we talk about how do you close on a phone call, how do you close on an email interaction. It's the same thing on a virtual tour. You want to get them to say yes. You want to get them to take some kind of step, some call to action, progress in their decision-making process throughout the virtual tour. So give them a reason to say yes. Ask them questions. Ask them to follow up with you, and get them to follow through with a call to action that's going to help you get to that end result sooner than later. Follow up, follow up, follow up. I can't talk about that enough. I think as an industry, our shop scores say that and show that we're really increasing our follow-up and doing it very well. But I need to encourage you to do it even more on a virtual tour. Like we said earlier, it's going to take at least 5 touch points, if not more. And you're on the poll, you all said that it takes at least 3. So follow up, follow up, follow up. more important virtually than ever. Once you get all through with that process, you got to stop and start all over again, don't you? Sometimes, although it's the same process as a physical tour, we might have to ramp it up a little bit on a virtual tour. So you might find that you're asking more questions to uncover their needs and wants. You're asking more questions to find out what their concerns are so that you have the opportunity to ease their mind and work through that virtually and get to the end result. I've got some great tips here for you and again, this information will go out. I realize it's a little hard to read on this screen, but just some quick tips for a great phone call on a virtual tour. But make sure you're smiling. You know, they can hear your attitude through the phone. So if you're doing those things like we talked about at the beginning of our call to help motivate you and keep you positive throughout the day, then this is going to be easy. But stop what you're doing, focus on the call or the person in front of you, whether it's virtually by email or phone, and smile. Show your personality, but most importantly, smile. We can see that through the interactions. Remember their name, like I talked about. Use their name throughout the conversation. Getting all their contact information, creating a connection, and staying focused. Again, these tips will go out. It's just a quick recap of everything we've talked about so far. So, Business Observations is a mystery shopping company. I think you know that. We've been doing mystery shops across the United States for close to 20 years, and we've recently started doing virtual tour shops. To get started and not only understand what our industry needs, what you guys need to accomplish a good, fantastic virtual tour, we did some case studies. And what we found is that less than 5% of all virtual tour shops asked to do a face-to-face or real-time virtual tour on that initial phone call. So if you do just that one quick step and ask them, hey, you want to take a tour now? You want to look at it now? You will be so far ahead of most of the people that are starting out in virtual tours and really be able to offer that connection and that assistance to help people find a home. It takes just a little bit to be exceptional on a virtual tour. This is one of the ways you can do that. We talked a little bit about fair housing earlier. Deb, anything else you want to add to that?
Just be welcoming to all and follow your procedures and your policies and all of the things that you've shared, Chris. Great tips for having a great virtual tour. So it's just, you know, business as usual. How would you be in person? Be that same on your virtual tour.
That's right. That's right. Be aware of it. Yep. Don't be afraid of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just remember the same things that you do on your physical tour need to take place on your virtual tours as well.
Yeah.
Well, now we got a lot of information. We've talked about how if you use all of the sales skills that you've learned for a physical tour and apply it to a virtual tour by ramping it up a little bit and showing a little bit extra, it will help you have an amazing virtual tour. We've talked about the phone calls and the correspondence. We talked about how you got to ramp that up and you've got to have a little extra phone calls, a little extra communication, more emails, more conversation than you would in a physical tour. And then you've got to tie it all together with your videos and your photos that you follow up with. Not only with your videos, but your real-time tours. Some of the tips that we're going to talk about next will help you create some phenomenal follow-up through your video virtuality. Let's take a look at one of the videos that we received from the case studies that we did. And I'd like you guys to chat and offer some comments on how you think this, how does it look? Is it too fast, too slow? How's the tone of voice? Is it personalized at all? Did she do anything in this video that we've already talked about throughout our time together? Enter your comments in the chat as we watch this. Are y'all feeling a little dizzy right about now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the comments that I'm seeing come in is that it was a little fast. You know, she moved around the room too fast, which gave us that feeling of seasickness or motion sickness. She gave us a lot of information. I'm seeing you guys are saying that too. She talked a little too fast. I agree with that. Yes. A lot of information quick at us. Did you guys feel that it was personalized at all or engaging? Did it offer any opportunity for interaction? I think that we have all seen some things that we could do differently in our virtual tours. So let's take a look at another example. Oops.
Chris, I think most people are saying they cannot hear the video.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Can you hear this one?
No. They're saying no.
Okay. Give me a minute here. I'm going to show you another one. Okay, wait here. See if you can. Can you hear that?
No. I can't. Let's see what the comments are. No. No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
No. Nope.
Okay. Hey, technical
Yeah.
difficulties. You got to be
Yes.
prepared for anything that can happen on a virtual setting, right?
Yep.
Let me see if I can get back to my PowerPoint. Give me a sec here. This will be sent out to all of you. So you'll be able to watch those videos, or I'll be able to follow up with them. But on this screen, let me go back to the previous screen. Since you couldn't hear what she was saying, not only was she moving around very quickly, which gave us that feeling of seasickness, she delivered a lot of information and she was talking the whole time. There were times throughout this video that she even sounded as if she was sighing. Like, we've got this, and oh, we've, you know, our beautiful upgrades, and, you know, her tone of voice and the way she delivered the information was, you could tell that she didn't give herself a minute to be prepared before she did the video. It wasn't personalized or engaging in any way. There wasn't an opportunity to interact. So if she was sending this video ahead of a real-time tour or during a real-time tour, there was no way for her to have a conversation until it was over. The video itself lasted over 2 minutes. So the whole time we were being bombarded with this information from her, and it became very difficult to listen to. And again, when we send this out, I think you'll understand or be able to see it for yourself. But let me go to the next one. Even though you can't hear it, on this one.
I think it's working. Chris, I think it's working now.
Oh.
I can hear it. No, maybe not.
No. No.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about these videos. First of all, I want to give a shout out to the Astor. I think you're on the call, and thank you for sharing your videos with me to use in the webinar. They're exactly what I think is important when you're following up with your prospects. These videos are short clips. They're 30 seconds or less. They have music to them. One of them has no sound at all, and they use that in a phone conversation. So if they can't do a real-time tour, they're sending the video without any music or talking, so that they can talk and have a conversation and ask questions just as they were on a physical tour. So let me give you some quick tips on how to create an awesome video. Keep your pace to a comfortable pace. Make sure you're not talking too fast or you're not delivering too much information. Make sure the length of your videos are short, sweet, and to the point. And make sure your tone of voice is, it sounds good. Make sure you sound good. You're not talking too fast or too slow or too high or too low. Don't be an information overload and give too much information out. Again, you want to make sure that the information you're giving is specific to what they're looking for. Make it personalized. Give yourself the opportunity to ask questions throughout the virtual tour and be engaging, interact with them. Keep it simple and short. Stage the area that you're filming in. I don't know if you noticed in the one video, but there were keys on the counter. Those little distractions will take away from your virtual tour. So stage the area. Make sure your pillows are fluffed, your toilet seats are down, and the area looks well. Not only those types of items, but your lighting and shading. How does that look? Practice before you start. Keep your talking to a minimum. Have a short clip that has some talking, but also put some words on the video so that they're displaying what the features or things that you might want to say. So that gives you the opportunity, again, to have some conversation and ask some questions. Label the clips so that when you send them to your prospects or future residents, they know what they're looking at. Remember, our prospects are going on 5, 6 virtual tours, just the same amount of tours as they would if they were going on a physical tour. They're getting a lot of information and probably more information than they would from a physical tour because that's the only way we have to communicate with them today. So make sure you're making it easy for them to go back and find your videos from all of the videos from the virtual tours that they've taken. Take footage of your interior, exterior, your area around the apartments and community. If there's a grocery store close by or within walking distance, show us that. You can also have somebody hop on Google and you can use a street view to show your neighborhood while you're on a virtual tour and give them that real-time feel of what it feels like to live there. When you're doing a video clip of your vacants or a model, start outside the front door so that you're welcoming them in. They're getting that feeling of walking into their home for the first time and really feeling that welcome home. And move slowly as you're taking the video. Like we saw in that first one, it was so quick that it gave us a little bit of motion sickness or seasickness. So some great tips to package your virtual tour. So you've got, you know, great sales skills, great communication. You're taking your time and being patient throughout your virtual tour, applying the same sales skills that you've learned throughout the years on a physical tour to your virtual tour, and then wrapping it all up in a beautiful presentation through your video and photos that you're sending. A quick infogram that you'll get with kind of wraps up all of that information. That was a lot of information to give in a short time. Do you guys have any questions or any feedback that we can give you that will help you have an amazing virtual tour?
Chris and Deb, one question that came up, it says, I'm curious how we can do apartment and self-guided legally. Do we hold their ID, etc.?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. Deb, you want to start with that or do you want me to take it?
On a virtual tour, I don't think you need to hold their driver's license. I mean, how would you do that?
No, you know, I think the conversation comes in. We're talking so much in our industry. If I'm understanding the question correctly, we're seeing so many self-guided tours come into play now. You know, there are software programs like Rently that will allow somebody to enter into an apartment by themselves. So there is no interaction with a leasing consultant or an on-site employee before they self-show or self-guide them through the apartment. Typically, that apartment is unlocked or there's some type of lock software program on the apartment so that they can get themselves in and out. There isn't a fair housing issue when it we talk about self-guided tours because there isn't any interaction with anybody and there is no opportunity to take an ID. So I hope that helps. I will advise you to talk to your supervisors and attorneys because
Yes.
each company has their own set of guidelines and rules. So we can give you a generality, but your company has specific ways they want you to handle it.
Yeah. If they happen to come in the office and you let them go out and do a self-tour, then, you know, at that point you can ask for a copy of their, or ask for their ID. Obviously, if you're just giving them instructions over the phone of where to go to look, then that might be a little bit different. But I would run it by an attorney and definitely the regional manager.
Absolutely. Most generally,
Ladies, we have one more.
a self-guided tour is different than a virtual tour. A self-guided tour, somebody is coming to your property physically to walk through the apartment, which I can understand why that question was asked. It's a great question, but because we're not physically interacting, we're not asking for anybody's physical ID when they go on a self-tour. If they are having to give that information, then you need to be consistent with that and make sure that you're asking from all of
Absolutely. Consistency.
Yeah, and another quick tip on any type of fair housing or policy change is it's got to be in writing.
Yes.
So that your changes are in writing. That will not only help you understand what guidelines to follow, but will help you communicate that with your guests.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Yes, we have one from the webinar chat. What is the best way to take a virtual tour? Phone, camera, etc.
Can you say it again, Michelle?
What is the best way to take a virtual tour? Phone, camera, or other?
Yeah, okay, so if you're recording a video, our phones work fantastic. The cameras on the phones are amazing, and it makes it a really easy, quick tool to use to record a video that you're going to send to somebody. We all have cell phones. You don't need anything extra. You don't need anything, any kind of special camera or anything for that. You can edit and everything right from your phone or download it to your computer. If you're doing a real-time tour, again, the best way is still your phone or an iPad. That will allow you to do a FaceTime, Instagram, Google Duo call. Any of those will work. But our phones today are exceptional, and they offer the quickest, easiest way to accomplish a virtual tour.
Any special editing tools you can get or apps that you recommend?
Yeah, there are all kinds of apps. We use Windows Movie Maker. It's an oldie but a goodie and super easy to use. Most of our software system, right on your iPhone, your iMovie comes with the editing type of tools. But just Google it in your app. There's so many of them out there, and it's really easy to do right from your phone.
Okay, we have another one. Is it okay to wear a mask and gloves to do FaceTime?
Again, I think it's what you're comfortable with and what your company policies are. However, the CDC guidelines do recommend that we are wearing masks when we go outside. So if you're going out into your community, follow your company guidelines, and you probably do need to wear a mask at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more. Chris and Deb, have you tried combining a pre-recorded silent video with a leasing agent on Zoom to create a virtual guided tour?
Yes, we've seen that done a couple of times. The Astor is one of the communities that do it very well, but it's easy to do because you can share your screen and show the video as you're conversing, much like we're doing on this webinar.
Okay. One more. What is the best way to keep your privacy while using your personal phone?
By using your company Instagram accounts and FaceTime accounts. You can go live on either one of those or use a phone capability, but if you're on your company FaceTime or your company Instagram page, that will limit your personal information that goes out.
Okay, it looks like we are finished answering the questions.
Well, gosh, it was so good to connect with all of you out there. It was so good to see you, Deb. And thank you so
Yeah.
much for the Apartment Association, Michelle and Jonathan. We appreciate you and everything that you guys have been doing to support our industry. And we are all available to help you. If you don't have our email or phone number, let us know. We'll get it out to you. Just give us a call. We'd be happy to help you stay positive, stay motivated, and just work through these uncertain times together. We are in this together. You're not alone.
We are. We're in this together.
Thank you again for your time. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to
Thank
seeing you
you.
again.
Bye,
Thanks.
everybody. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Go out and do something good.